Welcome back to the Grounded in Simplicity podcast. This is Bonnie from The Not So Modern Housewife, and I am joined by my friend Danielle from The Rustic Elk. And we are here to help moms find more joy in being less busy. So this week, we are going to talk about slowing down and the difference between being productive and being busy. So last week, we talked about how, we use our mornings to kind of set the pace for our day and set our intention for the day. And we really talked about having like 1 to 3 main goals that are going to be what we're going to focus on for the day. And, just try to get that one thing done. And then that's going to kind of be our mark for success. Well, Daniel, you tell me, like, outside of like having that one goal, what are things that you find keep you busy, but don't actually like accomplish your thing for the day? Besides yelling at your children.
We're talking about like things that we find too busy ourselves with as opposed to being bored, or distractions that keep us from doing what we're supposed to be doing. So we're procrastinating because of the distraction.
I would say distractions, but also I think sometimes it becomes a mindset thing where we have it in our head that like these certain things have to be done every day, when really, if we only did them a couple times a week, no one would know the difference. But also things that we do to kind of procrastinate the thing that we're supposed to be doing.
Mm-hmm. Like picking up your phone and checking your email.
Picking up your phone and checking your email.
I don't know. I mean, I can relate to that and tell you lots of things that I do instead of actually working on my website. Like checking my email. There? Okay. Like adding people to my Facebook group, or scheduling social media, or like fixing posts instead of writing a new post, or like looking at other blogs instead of just working on my own. Like, finding that shiny object. I guess it's shiny object syndrome, and like I need to.
Oh, you mean like this. Wildly deciding that I'm going to rebrand?
Yeah, like that. I don't notice it so much in my like day-to-day life. Like usually I can do the goal.
Yeah, I think if we're talking work related, like for instance, updating blog posts. If it is a blog post that like really needs to be fixed, then that can be beneficial for work. If it's just a matter of, here's 1 or 2 keywords that I could add in to rank on these keywords, like that's stuff that's really probably not that important. Which I guess that's the real defining factor between busy and productivity, is what's actually important.
Right.
I find just in general in life, we have a tendency to have trouble distinguishing between what we need and what we want. So, and a lot of times I think this comes back to the way we think people perceive us too. So like we will think we need the thing when it has nothing to do with our needs. It has to do with, well, if I don't have this, or if this doesn't look this way, then people are going to think differently of me.
Right. I find myself like when we're going to have company, like for the holidays or something like that, like everything has to be a certain way. I think it's from my mom. And so I will do things that aren't really necessarily productive and don't really need to be done. And then I don't get my goal done on those days.
Right.
Right. Things that, it's not necessary. I don't have to do that, but I do it because I don't know. Because my mom.
It's been ingrained in us. Yeah.
Right.
Well, and that's an interesting thing, like, especially when you talk in terms of hospitality, is, we have this idea that all these people are going to come over. We don't want them to need for anything. So we got to make sure we have all of the drinks that they might want and all of the snacks that they might want. And we have to have this big dinner planned when they're just coming over, or hopefully they are coming over to see you and spend time with you. But if you're spending the entire time they're there, and I mean, I am so guilty of this, especially for birthday parties, but if you're spending the entire time they're there running around making sure that everything is done and everything is perfect, then have you really been a good host? Because you haven't actually had a chance to like talk to them and spend time with them, which was the reason they came in the first place.
Right.
So, but we stayed busy.
Yeah. Well, and I think, I think we talked about this before, how busy is, like supposed to be a measure of success in our society. So we feel like we constantly have to be busy, and busy and productive are obviously two very, very different things. And we don't always have to be busy, which brings us to, you have to slow down and sometimes not be busy.
Right. Well, and also, I mean, just in taking care of yourself, you do need to build in some of that downtime, which is why, well, okay, so I'm seeing this trend, like you were saying, our society has really kind of put a gold star next to this whole hustle culture. And I am seeing a lot of people that either they did hustle for a lot of years and it may or may not have been what got them to that point, or they tried to keep up with hustle culture and realized that they couldn't keep up and this isn't sustainable. But there's a lot of people now going, you know what? We don't need to focus on like all of that. And being busy all the time is not necessarily a good thing, but focus on the things that are actually going to move the needle and get you to your goal, which again is, comes down to that, like you pick one thing for the day and that is good. That is, I mean, if you did that one thing, you're doing a whole lot better than most people.
Right.
But we have a tendency to go, but so-and-so did all of this. Who cares? So-and-so could be in a different season of their life. They probably have more support, or they're hiring more stuff out. Or, I mean, there's so many different things that, vary from person to person. And it's like, I'm finally coming to terms with, you know what, like, yes, I see a lot of other moms that seem to be able to get all this other stuff done, but that doesn't work for me. And I'm coming, I need to learn, one, what are the things I'm really good at, but then also, what are the things that I actually can reasonably accomplish? Because when I try to focus on what everybody else is doing, then I end up getting a lot less accomplished because it's not sustainable. And because by trying to keep up with all of them, I just end up burning myself out. And I end up, with all of these like half done projects, when if I just would have focused on one and finished it before moving on to the next thing, I would have had a lot more to show for it in the end.
Right. I think, it's not even just like my productivity is obviously different than your productivity, but it also varies from day to day. Like today, I didn't really get crap accomplished. I got my goal accomplished, the one thing, but and then yesterday I got a whole bunch accomplished. So, every day you just kind of have to roll with it. And, each day is going to be completely different, and make sure that you put at least one goal that you want to get accomplished. And maybe it's something that you don't really like to do, and you just eat the frog and do it first thing in the morning and get it out of the way. And then you can do whatever you want for the rest of the day. Not necessarily whatever you want, but.
Right. But it gives you a lot more mental space.
Yes.
You do the hard thing first thing. That's going to be your biggest hurdle. So eating the frog, get that out of the way. And then everything else throughout the day just becomes easier. But that way, that thing is out of the way. You don't have it hovering over your head. You're not procrastinating it all day. It's not building up anxiety. You just get it done and move on. And not every day is going to be like that, but we are going to have days like that where, no, it's not what we want to do. But in order to move forward or, do the things that we do want to do, that thing has to get out of the way first.
It was Mark Twain.
It was Mark Twain. Do you have the actual quote?
It says, eat a live frog first thing in the morning and nothing worse will happen to you the rest of the day.
Well, and I think something too, I think we tend to get worried that things aren't going to get done. And really, like, it seems like that anxiety of not getting stuff done or missing something or forgetting something or not being perfect, like that tends to be what leads to a lot of our busyness, is just our anxiety around the task. So one thing I've been trying to work on is really like planning stuff out. And I know not everyone is good at this. Not everyone is good at like taking a project and breaking it down into tasks. But even if you can just figure out like different segments or, different goals you're going to have along the way.
Right.
And then you take that thing and then you break it down further. And then you take that thing, you break it down further. And maybe you need to have a mastermind session with someone whose brain does think that way. And, they help you outline it until, because it is a skill. It is something that you have to practice and develop and learn how to get better at. So it's okay to be like, hey, I noticed that you're really good at X, Y, and Z. Could you help me learn how to be good at X, Y, and Z? Or, hey, hopefully someday you get to the point where you can be like, hey, can I pay you to do X, Y, and Z for me? But I know most of us are not to that point, especially if we're stay-at-home moms. Or being stay-at-home moms, we just have this mindset that everything is on our shoulders and we have to do everything ourselves, which is so much fun. But anyway, so you go ahead and you map out that project and you give yourself outlines of, okay, I'm going to shoot for, this week and this that week. And I mean, it's going to change. You're going to have some days that are going to be less productive than others. You're going to have some days that are more productive than others. And you can always adjust that schedule. But I think that laying it out and giving yourself a timeline, one, it sets more realistic expectations in terms of how long it's going to take you. But then also it helps kind of alleviate some of that anxiety of worrying that it's not all going to get done, because you've kind of created this roadmap for yourself to follow. And it helps you like really stay focused, so that you're not, allowing yourself to get distracted with all of the other things that you think you should be doing. You're just focusing on the things that are actually going to create the result that you want.
I'm terrible at that. So
do we need to sit down and have a mastermind session?
Oh, I am. I'm one of those like fly by the seat of your pants type of people. So when I have like a big, massive project, I cannot sit down and plan it out. Like my brain just does not work that way. I'm very, very type A until it comes to like sitting down and like taking something, a big project and breaking it down into steps. I can't. And then even if I attempt to, and I start to write stuff down, it gets overwhelming to me to try to, I start to break it down. And then I'm like, well, how long is that going to take me? Well, maybe I should do that first. And so my brain just doesn't work that way. So I have to just do a project.
And then get halfway through a course and forget to finish it.
Yes. Yes. I do that too.
I know. Well, and like I said, I don't even understand, because I'm really not type A. I don't know if it's from years of working around type A people from being in the military. It's just, that's one thing that I have found that I'm pretty good at, is breaking things down. Now, staying on task and getting the things done isn't always one of my strong suits. And I'm really bad at having like accountability partners, because at some point my brain goes, you know what? I'm going to let them down anyway. So I just don't even care anymore. Maybe that's the Gen X in me. So, or I don't know, or there's a lot of things that could be, but, and I've also run into that where I lay everything out and I have my list, and then I'm sitting there and I literally will give myself an anxiety attack just looking at all of the things, because like all of a sudden it's like, holy crap, what did I sign up for? Who do I think I am to think that I can do this? Total imposter syndrome.
Right. That's the other thing. And if I do manage to get it, I get that imposter syndrome. Like, there's no way I could do this. Who am I to think that I could even do this?
Right. And then I see other people that comment in some of these Facebook groups, and I'm going, how on earth are you successful? So that's how I bring myself back. But sometimes it also takes some hypnotherapy sessions where I need to like reprogram my brain. Because I mean, yeah, the anxiety and the imposter syndrome are very real things. And they will hold us back more times than not, because if I sit there and look at stuff logically and I think, no, you know what? These are the things that I have accomplished in my life. These are the things that I have learned how to do. These are the things that I'm good at. There's no reason why I can't do this.
Right.
But it's just that like initial, like, no, you know what? Like I just like, I can't turn the key.
Right.
This episode was brought to you by Kitchen Botanicals, your sustainable gardening headquarters. Stop by kitchenbotanicals.com and get a look at our 2022 seed varieties, as well as supplies and pest control products to help you with your organic garden. 2022 is a great time to take care of yourself with our Pampered Gardener subscription box. Every month, you'll receive all natural self-care products, untreated heirloom seeds, high-quality garden tools, organic garden amendments, cute and practical supplies, and fun products that we know you'll love. This is your opportunity to take care of yourself in the garden. I started the Pampered Gardener subscription box because I had gone through a time of not taking care of myself and dealing with the stress that it put onto my body. I was ill, I was tapped out, and I felt like I couldn't possibly pour any more out of my empty cup. So I created the Pampered Gardener subscription box for women like me who wanted to get back to what they enjoy, but also wanted to love themselves. So we've put together this collection of gardening and self-care products that are geared towards women who love to garden. You'll get things such as gloves, lotion, bags, hats, sunscreen, mosquito repellent, things that you can actually use, but also things that you'll enjoy. And don't worry, there will still be plenty of gardening tools, seeds. We've created a subscription box like no other, by gardeners for gardeners. Order your own box today.
I think that we have to realize, you mentioned that sometimes you get anxiety that you're not going to get all the things done. I think that we need to know that we're not going to get all the things done.
Yeah.
Like you need to know that going out the gate. There is no way you're going to accomplish everything that you think that you have to accomplish, because you really don't have to accomplish all of those things. So like we talked about last week, picking your one goal or your 2 or 3 goals is really, really important. And just making sure that you can scratch that one thing off your list, no matter how small it is. I don't care if it's, I fed my kids dinner. You accomplish something, and then you get that feeling of accomplishment, which helps boost your, what's the word I'm looking for? Confidence.
Yeah.
It's like totally went like, it helps boost your confidence so that tomorrow, instead of just feeding the kids, you can, get the laundry completely done and not leave it in your dryer.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, like a lot of times that anxiety comes from unrealistic timelines. Like we think that, I mean, maybe it's just the culture that we're in, but we think that we do the thing and we should see instant results from it.
Right.
Or, like I go to the gym, I should be 10 pounds lighter tomorrow, right? Like,
well, I'm 10 pounds heavier, so.
Right. And so it's, it's like you have to keep showing up. You have to, and it's not about like giving it 100% every single day.
Right.
Most successful people have seen that success by 1% increments. In fact, like I was reading one book, one of the many self-help audiobooks that I've been listening to lately. And it was something regarding habits, but they were talking about the British cycling team, and they had like never won a Tour de France. Or I'm pretty sure it was Britain. Anyway, and so they brought a new trainer in, and they're trying to figure out like what can they do, because they've already been through. All right, well, let's try this training program, and let's get the nicest bikes, and let's do this. And this new trainer came in, and all he did was he would make 1% changes, every month or whatever, or his goal for the entire year would be just to improve something by 1%.
Right.
And, it was tiny changes to the workout program. It was tiny changes to the way the bikes were calibrated, tiny changes to the diet, just little things that were easy to incorporate, that were sustainable. And within a couple of years, the cycling team who had never won were actually winning consistently year after year.
Right.
And it wasn't because of any drastic change they made. It was just these tiny little things that they changed day by day. And, that made a lasting impact. Because I think that's the big thing too, is finding systems and habits and routines and rhythms for ourselves that are sustainable, that we can stick with. And I think that's a big thing with rhythms in general, is when we go with our natural rhythm, we find that it's almost like a puzzle piece, like finally fitting into the puzzle. Like everything else just finally comes together because we stopped worrying about what everybody thinks and what we think that we need to do, or these unrealistic expectations that we've set for ourselves. And we just allow ourselves to find a flow and go with that flow. And, we end up being a lot happier as a result.
Right.
And then we have children that completely disrupt that entire flow.
I was going to say something and I completely lost my train of thought listening to her. When we're developing habits and trying to, slow ourselves down, I think that's very, very important that we just do incremental things. Like, don't take on all the changes that you want in your life. Don't try to do it all at once, because you're going to get overwhelmed and you're going to get burnout, and you're not going to it's not going to be sustainable. You're not going to continue all of those habits if you try to change everything at one time. So you just have to do one little thing. Like, I want to get up at 6 a.m. and I get up at 8 a.m, then you need to start with little 5 or 10 minute increments over the course of however long, not try to just instantly change to wake up at 6 a.m.
Right. And I think that may have been part of my problem with the whole miracle morning, was I was trying to change too much at once.
Right.
And it's and there's nothing that says that I need to do that at 4 o'clock in the morning. I just need to, I either I need to get up an hour earlier, or I just need my kids to leave me alone for an hour in the morning. Good luck with that. But yeah, just if you know that you're consistently waking up at 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock, then you set your alarm clock for 5 minutes before that. And then once you're consistently getting up at 6:55, then start setting it for 6:50,
Right.
and just make those little changes every few days until it's natural. Now, that doesn't mean you continue staying up until midnight and expecting to get less sleep every day. If you know that you need 7 hours of sleep in the night, then you need to start going to bed earlier too.
Right.
But I think we try to take on too much. And then also we tend to quit too early, because, we think that we should see this result, instantaneously, or after a few tries. Oh, well, that didn't work.
Right. Well, but I think that part of the reason that we quit so early a lot of times is not just because we're not seeing those instant results, and we live in this world where we think that everything should just be instant, but also because we try to do it all at the same time, and we take on too much, and we just get overwhelmed with it. So we end up not doing it. Like, if you normally get up at 7 or 8 in the morning and you try to get up at 4, then you're probably not going to continue to do it. It's going to last maybe a few days. And then you're going to be like, you know what? I'm not getting up at 4 anymore.
Right. Yeah. And and honestly, our bodies are going to fight back against trying to change things and trying to do new things.
Right.
Because I know anytime I try to develop a new habit, I am getting so easily distracted, because my brain is just like, no, I don't want to do that. No, that's too hard. No, let's go for the easy thing.
Right.
Our brain is always going to want to do the easy thing.
And it takes 30 days to develop a habit.
Well, yeah, on average. They've done some research that they show it. I think it depends on the amount of friction with the habit.
Right.
So, if it's something like making your bed, and it doesn't really you don't have to go out of your way to do that, then you can usually get into that habit within a couple of weeks.
Right.
If you have to actually change your clothes and put on shoes and get in your car and drive to the gym, that might take 90 days.
Just to get there into the parking lot. Forget going inside.
Right. I mean, and you could be like me and you're consistently going for 90 days and then there's one little hiccup and all of a sudden you can't seem to get back. So, we have to give ourselves grace, but we also, we have to break things down one step at a time. Yeah. Making these incremental changes. Like if we're using the gym as an example, what I've seen a lot of people do is first you just set the habit of, I'm going to change into my gym clothes. And then you just work on developing that habit. And then I'm going to put on my shoes. And then you work on just developing that habit, if we're talking about working in the garden. So one thing that I was doing to get myself out into the garden is I was just having my coffee in the garden in the morning, which would at least get me outside. And then once I was outside, then, I would start doing different gardening tasks and things like that. And then I would just kind of keep adding on to my gardening tasks while I'm outside, or keep adding on to my outside chores in general while I was outside. Because just the act of getting myself outside, because I would have not necessarily anxiety, but I would almost feel guilty playing outside because there was housework that needed to be done.
Right. I think, if we're talking about gardening, a lot of people have trouble with weeds. I think just adding 5 minutes to your morning routine to go out and pull some weeds can really help.
Mm-hmm.
If you do it every day and you just get yourself in that habit of just going out, and it's only 5 minutes. So it's not like it's really taking away from whatever else you think you should be doing, because it's 5 minutes and you just go out there and pull weeds in a row for 5 minutes. And then you're done for the day. Once your timer goes off, you can stop. And if you have time and you want to go back and do it later, you can. But at least helps you kind of keep on top of it without it being overwhelming or feeling like it's taking time away from housework or, playing with your kids or whatever it may be.
Right. Well, and I know, there's some things, and weeding is one of them, where I did have to kind of reframe my mindset around it because, it seems like such a chore. It seems like such hard work. But for me, I would get out there and it would almost become like a meditation for me. So, and maybe I'd put on some music in my earbuds, or maybe I would just talk to myself or whatever, but just kind of using that time that, it's okay, this is my quiet time. This is my time when I can think and relax and clear my mind. And I just happen to be pulling weeds at the same time.
Right.
And then it became a much more enjoyable experience for me, and to where, it's my body almost craved it because I needed that downtime to go out and think and be in nature and be in the dirt and just reset my thinking.
Right. I think that's part of implementing systems and stuff too, because like I said, if you add 5 minutes to your day to pull weeds in the garden, or, get in the habit of always putting in a little laundry first thing in the morning, or, get in the habit of, unloading the dishwasher or loading the dishwasher, or doing your dishes if you don't have a dishwasher or whatever it is. If you just do it, it only takes 10 minutes. It's not like something that's going to take a lot of time. And I think that we don't like those tasks. So we procrastinate them, and then they end up taking longer because we didn't do them when we should have done them. And so I think that's part of, that helps you be productive and feel productive without being overly busy and feeling like, oh, I need to do this over here, but I have a sink full of dishes to do, but I don't want to do the dishes because I hate doing the dishes. And then they just pile up higher.
Right.
I think that if we start to implement systems, one little thing at a time, then we're not so busy.
Right. Well, and two, a lot of times people are like, oh, well, just do it before bed. Well, I'm sorry, but I'm exhausted before bed. And
I'm exhausted by 5 p.m.
Well, right. So, and that's really where that quote of eating the frog comes from is, if we know that is going to take a lot of mental energy, or it's just something that we're going to dread doing. If you use the spoon analogy, it's going to be that's something that just takes a lot of spoons. Then you do it first thing when you have the mental capacity, when you have the energy, and I mean, and maybe your energy isn't great first thing. Like, maybe you're like me and you need a couple cups of coffee first, but you do it before you get into anything else, because once you get into those other things, then that's just one more hurdle.
Right.
And you gotta take that biggest hurdle first. So that way it's out of the way. And then, and you don't have it because it has a tendency, when it's in the back of your mind, it's just sucking mental energy from you all day, because you're not doing it, but it's just, you're still thinking about it.
Right. That's actually why I like to schedule appointments for the morning as opposed to scheduling in the afternoon, just because number one, I don't like to go to them, but number two, it messes with my mind when I'm trying to accomplish other things, because I'm worried about, oh no, we have to get ready to leave because it takes an hour to get anywhere from here. So my entire day, I'm sitting there with this anxiety of, well, we have to make sure that we're done doing whatever it is we're doing by X time, because we have to get in the vehicle, and it takes an hour to get in the vehicle because I have 3 kids. So,
Right.
And so I sit there and try to calculate the time, and then I end up being non-productive because I'm worried about going to, making it to wherever it is we need to be on time. So I like to do them in the morning so that they're out of the way and we can come home and finish our day after the fact.
Well, yeah. And that's on days that we have appointments, or really days when we have to go anywhere, nothing's getting done that day.
Right. Same here. But I still like to get them out of the way.
Well, right. But I mean, it's almost, one, it's, pulling teeth to get my children out of bed anyway. But just because I know how much time it takes us to get up, get ready, get in the, get in the car, leave, I'm usually trying to make appointments either right before lunch or right after lunch. So it's not first thing. But yeah, by the time we get home, well, now it's time to start dinner.
Right.
So,
right.
But I know that though, I'm not feeling bad or making myself feel guilty about not being more productive, because it's well, my entire goal for the day was just to make it to that appointment.
Right.
So that was my productive thing for the day.
Yeah. I always make that my goal, but still I try to, get them done. So at least I can come home and make dinner, or,
right.
If it's late enough in the day, in the morning, I almost always make my appointments in the morning, but if they're late enough, then I can get dinner prepped or put in the, I'll make something in the crock pot or something so that we can have food ready when we get home, that type of thing.
Right.
Which is another thing about, implementing systems when you talk about cooking from scratch and things like that, trying to utilize things like the crock pot or the instant pot or, whatever it may be, so that you can still have a home cooked meal that's got, fresh ingredients in it without having to slave over a stove for 3 hours.
Right. Yeah. And I'm, that kind of goes into my weekly flow, because right now I'm using this one service that actually does my meal planning for me. And so my meal plan is done on Fridays. I go ahead and order my groceries. They're usually delivered on Saturday. And then I kind of spend Sunday, not necessarily meal prepping, but usually what I'm doing is going ahead, pulling out meat. If I have meat that needs to thaw, if there's anything that needs a marinade, I'll go ahead and put it in the marinade. Maybe I'll mix up vegetables, whatever. So then if it's a crock pot meal, all I have to do is throw it in the crock pot. If it's something that I'm roasting, all I have to do is spread it out on the roasting pan and throw it in the oven. The bulk of it is done. So that way it's not taking me 2 hours just to prepare dinner.
Right.
Because like we've said, by the time dinner rolls around, we're exhausted, and and the kids are driving us nuts because, when is dinner going to be ready? And everybody's getting hangry. And so the faster I can get dinner out and served, then, the less likely I am to lose my mind.
Hopefully,
theoretically. Or what mind I have left. Yeah. Oh, but anyway, if you know that leaving your house is going to eat up the majority of your day, maybe you should not sign up for things that have you out of your house every day. Actually,
that's the bad part about living out, though, because it takes forever to get anywhere, and then you're there, and then it takes forever to get back, and then we left at 9 in the morning and got home at 5.
Oh my goodness. Well, and for us, in terms of extracurriculars, ours really aren't that bad. And in terms of the distance we have to drive.
Right.
Co-op is probably the furthest, and it's 35 minutes one way. But thankfully, we did not sign up for soccer this year, because like last year I about lost my mind because my daughter did not have dance, but I had 2 kids in soccer, and we were at the soccer fields every day except Sunday and Friday.
Oh my.
And it was, okay, yeah, it only takes 15, 20 minutes to get to the soccer field, but then practice is an hour and 15 minutes. And then get back home, and then it's bedtime. And so it's like we're either eating dinner before soccer or we're eating dinner really late. And then, yeah, it just was not a good combination. Anyway, topic for another day. So, all right. Well, we are glad that you guys could join us this week. And we look forward to seeing you next time. Or join us over on our Patreon. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Grounded in Simplicity podcast. If we were able to help you in any way, please share this episode with a friend, and also leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. You can also join us over on Patreon at Grounded in Simplicity and help to support this podcast, as well as become a patron and get a behind the scenes look at the creation of our podcast and even have some input on future episodes. Try not to be so busy this week. Remember to slow down.
Yes.
All right. Well, we'll see you next time.